Hey, there we go. Welcome back to the live stream. My name is Jeff Fritz. Today is, what day is today? Dear Lord. Today is July 18th, 2019. We're going to write a little bit of code today. No audio. You can hear me. What do you mean you can't hear me? It's there. I see it. It's going out. Can you hear me? Hello, Source Scoot. Right? You've got audio. I see it. Clear as a bell, says Welsh Ronaldo. There we go. I found my Philly.net hat. Look at that. I've been doing a lot of reorganizing, a lot of shifting things around here in the home office, and wouldn't you know, I buried in one of my boxes of cables and supplies. There were a handful of hats. Who knew? Me with a handful of hats hidden in a box, and found my favorite Philly.net hat. Good to see everybody here. My gosh, let me say hello to everybody in the chat room here. Let's get some music going then, and we'll get into our project today. Sean's here. Hello. Oh, yes, today's discussion should be exciting. We're still working through this classical problem of schedule management, scheduling things, and looking at date-time operations. It's a problem that a lot of folks have, whether they're dealing with... Oh my gosh.
Smoke just resubscribed for 8 months.
Now, I don't know why it's giving me double feedback there, but it's there. Thanks so much for that. I've still got to figure out where that extra one's coming from. I don't know where it is. Yeah. All right. But this is a classic problem, scheduling, that we're going to dealing with date arithmetic. Welsh Ronaldo, Copper Beardy, hello. Ancient Coder. Raziel Descartes, good to see you. Old Dev Guy, hello. Great to have you back with us. Chris Jones, Jurgen is here. Rambling Geek, oh my gosh. Love the gritties there from Old Dev Guy. Thanks so much, and thanks for the subscriptions. Of course, we're making donations this quarter to Coder Dojo, and that's an organization that supports the construction of training facilities and teaching folks about technology everywhere in the world. Really great stuff they're working on. D.D. Walsh, good morning. It's a winter morning in Seattle? Oh no.
Ancient Coder just resubscribed for 11 months.
Ancient Coder, 11 months. That is awesome. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate everybody's support. This is really great stuff. Thank you very, very much. Lost your hat for a bit there, says Smab. Glad you have it back. That blue hat, of course. Svava is here. Hello. What mischief? Lots of mischief. Plenty of mischief.
Rambling Geek just resubscribed for 11 months.
11 months? Thank you so much. Closing in on a year here. That is tremendous. Thank you so much, everybody. I Am Not Myself is here. Yes. Oh my gosh, already calling out the music up there. Look at this. Copper Beardy with the Code Rushed emotes there. Nice. Subtrain is hot. Carrie's here. Heyo, good to see you. All right. Oh my goodness. It's all the Prime subs losing hats today. Yeah, come on back. Come on back, folks, on Twitch Prime. Always great to have you back. So I mentioned I've got the Philly.net hat. I didn't finish making my G Fuel. Pardon me. I'm going to make my G Fuel real quick. I got to have a little bit of caffeine in the morning before I get going. So, yeah, we're going to finish talking about some of the date math that we've been doing. We've got our application that we've been working on. This is it's a simple application for now that's set up so that we can log the availability of volunteers, of employees. And right now, this is for an organization that's close to me, close to my heart, called Sebastian Riding Associates. And this organization, they provide equine therapy. They teach disadvantaged youths, folks that have some physical challenges, that might have whatever challenge that might be coming up, whether it's mental, physical, and help them with a little bit of horsemanship so they can learn and kind of break out of whatever it is that they might be having to cope with. It's really great for folks, whether they've gone through a traumatic life experience or, like I said, they've got some other challenge in their life. and they need to schedule volunteers. They need to schedule training classes. So that's what we're going to be working on, and we will get into that a little bit further today. Yeah, the bot does need to be updated about the hat.
Confused Coder just subscribed.
Confused Coder, thanks so much for that subscription. Oh my goodness. Thanks so much for that sub, and that's going to put you, of course, into a blue hat. A purple hat to start, the little badge. And thanks so much. We'll make another donation to Coder Dojo. JAF 1021 is here. Oh my gosh. Good morning. Great to see you. Thanks so much for joining in. For those of you that I don't know if I shared this. Every now and again, I talk about my parents here on channel. Of course, JAF 1021 is Mama C# Fritz. A little bit over a week ago, about 10 days ago now, my father had a little bit of back surgery done. A little bit. Ooh, a lot of bit. And I'm happy to say everything came through just fine, and he's well on his way to recovery. And big shout out to my dad out there. Hope you're getting better. Hope you're feeling better today. And hopefully I'll see you this weekend. So, yep, there's a G Fuel command out there. Thanks so much. And thanks. Who just joined us? Who's the new follower up there? Is that Ludico? Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you for the follow. Welcome. Great to see you. Yep, get well soon, Papa C# Fritz. Absolutely. So, yep, everything came out okay. He had some back problems for a while, but it actually got to a point where he was pinching a nerve in his back, and he wasn't able to feel himself walking properly. So you can imagine if you're not able to feel your legs and know what's going on there, it becomes a little confusing when you're walking, being able to feel where the ground is when you're taking steps and that kind of thing. And it became a bit of a challenge for him. So we're really excited for Dad there. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate the hype and the emotes there in channel for him. Very nice. Thank you. All right, so let's get some music playing. Yeah, we will need to change the message about my hat now that we've got the Philly.net hat back. Yes, it's back. I finally found it. I've been joking about I haven't been able to find it for years, and yeah, we found it. Oh my gosh! So let me get some music playing. Let me see. I'm going to play Red today. There we go.
The _JK_ just resubscribed for 3 months. Hello all.
Hey,
Hope
JK.
You are all doing well.
We are doing well. Thanks so much for that. And we'll make another donation to Coder Dojo. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, so we're going to play. This is Red from Music to Code By. This is music that's designed, it's engineered to get you in the groove, to get you focused on whatever task it is you might be working on, whether it's code, homework, chores around the house. Check it out, mtcb.pwop.com. Thank you so much to our friend Mr. Carl Franklin, and for letting us share in his music, listen to it while we're coding together here on stream. Thanks so much, Ancient Coder, for putting the link up there for everybody if you want to go and grab it. And make sure you let Carl know on Twitter how much you enjoy the music. He really enjoys the feedback when he hears from some of our friends here on stream. How am I enjoying the key lights? Asks Rambling Geek. So I've got 2 key lights here, the Elgato key light. I need to finish moving them around as I'm reorganizing. It's funny, I'm trying to redecorate, reorganize, redeploy my home studio here while I'm working and producing streams. So I need to finish moving the lights into place. I've got a brand new Sony Alpha 6000 camera that we're going to be using here on stream, and I've got a tripod to mount this on. It's going to go right over there, and you're going to see a tremendous world of difference when that camera's up and I get the lights moved around. I've got some soundproofing panels I'm going to finish installing here over the next few days. I really enjoy the key lights. They're real easy for me to control. I've got them wired up to my Stream Deck. Did you expect anything less? Me running things on a Stream Deck, of course. But we're going to get them moved around so I can turn up the lights a little bit and fix a little bit of the lighting. The one side of my face here is a little bit dark. And actually, that's the side that the key lights are on. Let me head over to this screen, and I can actually show you the controls for them right there, right here. There they are. So I've got two lights. Yeah. And I can actually, I believe they're linked together. I can set the brightness at the same time. We can dial that up a little bit. That's not too bad, right? And I can even change the color of the lights. Ew. I like it on the blue. It helps to fade out the green behind me. So that's not too bad. I think that'll work for today. But eventually I'll have them lined up on the two sides in front of me here, so they cast good lights over here. You just got the 4K Brio. Nice. The Brio's a very nice camera. I saw an article today about some folks that, as part of Amazon's Prime Day, the big discounts that Amazon offers on their website, they found this camera that I bought. Right, they found this online for $95. Normally, with the extra lens kit and things, it's a couple $1,000s. I didn't drop that much on this one, and they got it for like 90% off. Just insane price, insane, and yeah, really, those folks lucked out. So, let's get into our project. Yeah, I know. Look at him; it's crazy. So, let's get into our project. This is the GitHub repository for the resource management project. Let's paste that in there. And you can find out all kinds of information here. I created it last time, previously on Fritz and Friends. Yeah. I outlined 4 projects that are a high-level roadmap of where we're going with this. So the idea was, I think I can, hang on. And now I'm irritated by that little block that I crop out of the corner. No, it's the image mask. We can get rid of that. That's better. Right? Everything okay there? Yeah, we're good. So I created a couple of projects here to provide a high-level roadmap of where this is going. And I wanted to make it clear, here are the things that we want to do. And I feel like I should, right, aren't there like due dates you can set up on these? So you can say when these things are, no, you can't. But these are the things that we're going to be working on. We set up schedule availability. We then want to be able to schedule classes, take someone's availability and map that into an actual class. I want to actually do a schedule board here. And I'm behind on some of our friends joining me for pair programming classes. This is something that I want to ask our friend Carrie Payette to help out with, because she's tremendous with this type of Raspberry Pi and IoT device type things. I think this will be good for 2 of the pair programming sessions that we're going to do together. Michael Jolly and Robert Tables I need to invite to join us, and they're well overdue, and my deep apologies for that. The last one I have here is notifications. We want to be able to notify folks when schedules change. So that's a thing that's going to come up here. Yeah, we'll have Carrie on. We'll do some pair programming and build some stuff for the Raspberry Pi that we can actually put on site for the organization here. Can I? There, now you can see all of me. Actually, I feel like I can clip a little bit out there. We'll figure that out later, I guess. All right, so those are the projects that we're working on. So I created some issues that feed into some of that discussion. And thank you, everybody, for chiming in on some of the discussion here, some of the things that are going on around this project. Particularly, right, gosh, so many things here. Can schedules be changed while in progress? A couple of you have chimed in here. Surly Dev particularly. Why not? In the case of a schedule exception, you could be back from leave, holiday leave, a bout of the flu earlier than you expected. You want to make yourself available again. Yeah. There is legislation in the QA that once a schedule has been published, in the case of paid staff, the member of staff has to be given a certain number of days' notice of any changes. That's going to be a requirement, I think. That feels like a requirement for this notification system. You might want to take this into account with validation if this system is to be used by employees as well as volunteers. This is a very important point here that I think needs to be turned into some sort of a requirement for that notifications bit as well, so that we do notify appropriately when there are changes, right? Who was June's cheerleader? Asks Ancient Coder. That was Carrie Payette as well. She did the double. She had both May and June. It was amazing. So, big ups for Carrie on that. Right now, sitting at the top of a hill by the highway, working in my van so that you have decent cell reception. All right. Yes, Carrie will be with us twice. Hey, Pat, good to see you. So I'm gonna drop a line here. That's a very good point, and should feed into the requirements for the class scheduling and notifications projects. Let's create a requirement. Let's create two requirement issues that we can assign to each of those, to those projects. There we go. I like that. I like the discussion there. It's going to help some of us think and drive through what these requirements are. And when you're thinking about a project, whether it's open source, whether it's something formal that you're working on for your employer, it's important to drive out those requirements through discussion. And that's where I think having a bunch of diverse viewpoints on this, right? Not just folks that work on software, but at some point we're going to have to put this in front of the client, the customer, and get their viewpoint as well. Getting a bunch of different diverse viewpoints to weigh in on, well, how do these things work? Will help to ensure that we deliver not just the correct functionality, but the best functionality for these folks. You just like cheering. That's great. This is a good requirement if this application grows outside of the original planned client, says Carrie. Yes, completely agree. Good morning, Hugo. Good to see you. Simon created an issue here for us to add support for fluent assertions. In case you haven't seen it, if you're not familiar with it, fluent assertions is it's a Fluent API for setting up test results, building unit tests, and it works great with XUnit, which is the test framework that we use for this project. I'm not opposed to it. I want to make sure that our tests are readable and easy to construct. I'm okay with fluent assertions. We ran into some issues with the auto fixture where in a previous project we used auto fixture and it was very confusing to use. It didn't make us more productive. We had to write a lot of code to be able to use auto fixture. So let's I agree with Simon here. This looks like it would be helpful helpful to build our tests. Yeah. Let's move forward with starting to adopt fluent assertions. Cool. And I'm using Control-Enter to hit the default button there, right? Control-Enter in the text box will automatically do the comment. So I like seeing that. I think that's a great idea. Let's see. Need to consider federal official holidays. Let me just Control-click into these that I want to make sure that I look at here. Good. Need to consider federal official holidays and schedule. So we need to, right, be able to include and have some reference as to what those holidays are when we build out some of these. Mordecai put together a couple links for us here, some links that provide usable APIs to get holidays. And they use Google Calendar. Okay, that makes sense. Please try to internationalize the names of holidays when coding this. For instance, in the UK, we have bank holidays, same thing as federal holidays. They're just called differently. They're not mandatory holidays, but you can work them employer permitting. Okay. So this feels like, let's do this. Let's put this on, let's see, let's put this on. So we're working on schedule availability. I think we need to put this on schedule classes here, so that when it comes time to schedule classes, we'll be able to see here's where the holidays are, so we don't schedule those classes during a day when the facility should be closed. I think that'll work. So, Confused Coder comments, I agree regarding diverse viewpoints. I find SpecFlow and BDD works well. BDD is a great practice. For those of you who don't know, BDD is an acronym. It's a practice called Behavior Driven Development, BDD. And unlike Test Driven Development, which was a little bit of what we were doing last time, we're going to dive back into that in just a minute here when we finish reviewing our comments and our feedback. In test-driven development, you write tests that say, this is the code that should work this way. Behavior-driven development is a way for you to write prose, to write things in the syntax of given, when, then. Given this scenario, when this thing occurs, then I expect this to happen. And it's a way for you to give to your non-technical folks, to the muggles that are contributing to your project. You know what I mean? They're Harry Potter fans. You know what I mean, right? I don't have any sound effects up. You know exactly what I mean there. So if you can get your business analysts, your customers, to start citing requirements in that simple language syntax, given this scenario, when this happens, then I expect this to happen. Not only are they defining a requirement in a standard format and using some standard nomenclature, some ubiquitous language, right? They start referencing and using the same terms for the same things. My volunteer schedules, right? If that is a concrete thing that they recognize and understand, given a volunteer schedule and they've scheduled the weekend off, when I try to schedule them for work while they're not available, then I expect an error to be raised. When you get them to start giving you that syntax, that definition, you can record that as text. And here's the best thing about SpecFlow and BDD tools like that, as Confused Coder is mentioning in the chat room. SpecFlow will take that text and turn it into executable code for you, which you can then wire up appropriately as the technical side of the project. You can wire up to real tests. And now that requirement that was given to you by your customer is enforced. And there's other tools. SpecFlow, when it's integrated with continuous integration systems, I used to do this with JetBrains TeamCity all the time. You would get those requirements output in TeamCity, and it would say, here's the requirement name, and you can actually drill in and see the given, when, then syntax, and whether or not that requirement has been satisfied. Really great stuff. We try to imitate a little bit of that with how we structure our unit test names. And you'll see that in a little bit here. Let me make sure I catch up on the chat room here 1 second here. Tried streaming a quad run last night. Doesn't look like it took. Oh no. Let's see. Working at the highest point of the property, up on a hill. Oh my gosh, that must be amazing. Chris Jones points out BDD uses something called the gherkin syntax. Yes, that given when then syntax is called gherkin, like a cucumber or a pickle, right? It's a gherkin, and that was the name of one of the libraries, more famous libraries that folks were using for BDD was cucumber. So the language that goes with cucumber is, of course, gherkin.
60% of the time, it works every time.
It does. Let's see. I'm not myself. I've never successfully got a business person to write BDD style specs. Okay. But I've successfully reviewed them in a sprint planning session with those people and had them give good feedback and point out edge cases I had not considered. It does take some practice. It does take some work. It's something, if you're able to encourage that behavior, you're going to end up making everybody's job a lot easier. If you want to include performance criteria in your tests, try this. Pro-coded, pro nbench x unit. Tell you what, Confused Coder, that's not something I want to include yet, but create an issue for it so that we can come back and we can be sure to talk about that. We'll put it in the parking lot for now. But performance is definitely going to be a consideration at some point in the life cycle of this application. So I appreciate the suggestion, and I want to make sure that we don't forget it. We don't lose that. So if you wouldn't mind, can you copy that into an issue for me? Really appreciate it. More pointing out that it's successful in giving us a relatable asset. Yes. Using that gherkin syntax, that given when then syntax, even if the customer doesn't give it to you in exactly that syntax, if you can nudge them in that direction, rephrase what they're describing in that syntax, it does give you that relatable asset that you're able to discuss. And the important thing is that communication, everybody understands how it works. So this, I really like being able to do the holidays on schedule. I want to make sure that gets included when we get to scheduling classes. Next one, need validation on domain objects, and Marble Kirby came through with a lot of work on this. So I put a couple of requirements here, added a few commits. Simon wrote in about fluent validation and using that. Hugo just dropped in here. Let me finish here. I'm familiar with fluent validation, used it quite a lot. I think creating validators for the domain objects would be a better approach. For the domain objects, I do agree. Having validation natively inside that object that's required across all instances makes perfect sense. But implementing fluid validation is not too bad. I think that makes sense. Probably need to restrict what characters are allowed to be entered in certain fields for the time being anyway. I doubt we would legitimately permit emojis in the majority, if not all, identity fields. Yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely something there for that. Just thought of a chat command. New issue text creates an issue on GitHub. That's a cool idea, Rambling Geek. That's a very cool idea. I'm going to take that as an issue here. New issue text creates an issue on GitHub. We're going to need to point out to the bot what our GitHub project is, so that it knows where to create that issue. But that's not a bad idea. I think that is a brilliant idea. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Add it using the project command. Maybe. Jeremy Knight gives a +1 for fluent validation. Yeah, I think I agree. I could use that code on a project I have in backlog that'll need to create issues. Yeah. Add to the project command. So if we said, we need to flesh out a couple details around that. let me continue going through here. And I'll let chat discuss and figure out a little bit more on that. Datetime extension methods. Ultramark wrote up a couple of ideas. There's an is-on extension method. So we can say date is on another date. And it's doing that check where this date is greater than or equal to that date. And this time is less than that date plus 1 day. That's not bad. Additional extension methods can be defined is on or after, which is if this date is greater than or equal to that date, is after, date is greater than or equal to date plus 1 day, is before or on, is before, is between, yes. Makes it very clear what the developer's intention was, yes. And it looks like, oh my gosh, looks like Marble Kirby added some datetime extensions here. I've added extension methods for comparing datetime's object with another datetime. Good. That's great. Should I implement the extension methods in the schedule manager? For example, there's this will become that. Yeah, that is really nice. No, I don't want to edit. No, don't edit. No, don't do that. That's not the button I wanted to hit. I'm just going to refresh. I don't see an undo button there. I wanted to hit this. There we go. The reason for me not including extension methods for comparing datetime against datetime is that they don't add value to just using this. In my mind, the latter is clearer. I think we want to compare datetime ranges. But some of these things to look at the overlap, I'm okay when doing these comparisons. I'm okay adding the extension methods. But I think the more valuable feedback here is that we should create some extension methods. We should create some, let's just say methods, for comparing schedule objects or time slot. Schedule or time slot objects. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Let me take a look back here at the chat room. Looking forward to the next 300 anonymous Git issues, unless limited to the moderator. Maybe we can limit to moderators and VIPs. When you set the project command, if there's a link to the GitHub repo, use that with the new issue command. Yeah. But I definitely understand Smab has a good point here about not allowing anybody to create a Git issue directly. Not only that, but we also will need to have a user that's creating that issue. You know, maybe it's the Fritz bot that's creating the issue. Will you be looking for overlap, etc.? Yes, Jeremy Knight. Yes, we already do a little bit of that. It's a lot of back and forth. You'll see it in the code here. Entity Adam says, add the same extensions to datetime offset, and you've sold me. Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense to do. We're working on the manager view here, and this is a feature that we defined. I think we need to implement some authorization for the manager view so that only people with person type of manager can see this view. We can then store the person type as a claim, write an authorization policy that will check if the user has that claim. Yes, completely agreed. Yeah, this is absolutely a requirement we need to let's break that out. Let's break that authorization requirement out as a separate issue. So this is 18. add manager claim and enforce for manager view. From 18, we need to only allow managers to see the manager view. Manager reports, let's say. And I'm going to put some labels on this. This is an enhancement. Sure, we'll put those 3 on it, and I will add this to schedule availability because we do have that manager view in there that we need to enforce. Okay. Defining an implementation of person types. We should define a list of person types that will be in the system. If we're going to use these person types for authorization, nah. Let me come back to this. There's a little bit more to this that I think we need to define, and I want to get into our code here today. So, you can have 2.hours mean 2.hours.after. Oh, wow. Neat. Okay. So let's get back in. Let's work on some of the math around our timing here. We spent about a half hour looking at issues here. Let's actually start getting in here and thinking.
Hello?
Yeah.
Anybody home?
Yes.
Hey, think, McFly, think.
I'm thinking, Biff. Okay. So here we are back in the project. And what we're trying to do, what we're working through, let me show you the test that we're actually working on here. Nope, not that one. Not that one. Yes, and then we're doing it. Just do it and then do the thing. Love the just do it. Who's just do it is that? James Montemagno. Nice. All right, so we wrote some code to test to make sure that we handle schedule exceptions properly. A schedule exception is that that block of time that you tell your manager, hey, I'm going away for the weekend. I'm taking next week off. Right? It's an exception to your normal schedule. And we wrote some code to be able to handle that. And we have some unit tests that verify that works properly. Now, I'm going to turn back on live unit testing and stick our unit tests right here. This is a feature of Visual Studio 2019. It's also in 2017. But particularly, this is available in the enterprise version. And it lets you run your tests as you're writing your code. So right now, we're going through and we are trying to write some tests. We're doing a little bit of test-driven development. We're writing our test first. And then we're going back and writing the code that makes that test work. That's called test-driven development. It's a practice to help you make sure that you build just the code that you need. And I felt like it would be a good practice to drop in for what we're trying to accomplish here. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build that availability report. We want to be able, as a manager, to be able to look at a report, and for a given week, that's going to be the first view that I decided to create here because I decided. I want to be able to see for each hour that the facility is open, how many people are available for each time window. So we're going to have a test that we want to run that says, you know what, for this week, from the 14th through the 21st, from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m., show me the availability of everybody by hour. And we actually even added a way to specify the green, the how granular we want the report. Robert Tables
just resubscribed for 10 months.
Look at all the
Thursday.
Happy
68 ship it Robert 68 HECCC sharp gritty.
Thanks so much for the resub, Robert, and we'll make a donation to Coder Dojo. as we are with all of our subs and cheers this quarter. Thank you very, very much for that. 10 months! That's amazing. That'll keep you in a green hat. Thank you very, very much. Code Warrior. Did I see Code Warriors here? Ultra Hal, good to see you. Da, 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 da. Fantastic. Your containers summons work. Yeah, you mentioned containers and out comes Robert Tables. Thank you for posting the shout out, Ancient Coder. Much appreciated. All right. You just have a bot parsing with Lex. Nice. So this is calculating the availability, and when we think about that grid, right, it's going to be 7 days, and we're going to have the the 9 hours there. That actually should be 63, right? 8 to 5 p.m. No. Yes, 63. I have the wrong number here. That should be 63, shouldn't it? Do I have that right? 7 days from Sunday to Saturday. 8 to 5. Oh, no. Wait. It should be... I even did the math wrong on that. 8 times 9 is 72. And even then, it's not including the 5 o'clock hour. It's 8 until 5. So it ends at the 4 o'clock hour, which means that it's 8 hours, which means it should be 64 times that we get that number in there. And the live unit testing's turned on here. It's going to get warmed up here. You can't see it. It's just behind my shoulder here. It's running the test now, and we should have this come back there. It expected 64. Right now it's returning 0. So we need to be able to show that. Chat is not displayed on screen. That's right. It's not. That is really the Robert Tables. The one from the cartoon. Chat is not displayed on screen. That's right. So we've taken chat off screen so we can get a little bit more other things on screen as well. I got to make sure I call out. We are heading towards that follower goal. If we get to 8,000 followers before September 15th, I will dye my beard rainbow for .NET Conf, which I'm hosting, and TwitchCon 2019. I'll have it rainbow all week long, and the partners will smile, I'm sure, at this guy with a rainbow beard. One other thing, now that we're about halfway through, I want to make sure everybody knows tomorrow's our Blazor workshop. We've got a full day workshop scheduled. We're going to go 10 a.m. starting at a normal time. We're going to go until we're done. We're going to learn all about Blazor, WebAssembly, writing C# so it works in the browser. Tell your friends, tell your families, tell your pets. Sign up. We're going to have a great time tomorrow, just like we did last week. Working on Blazor. The Blazor may make an appearance. Indeed. Confused Coder's only here for the rainbow beard. Nice. Hey, Daniel. Thank you so much. Gosh, Daniel, thank you so much for your contributions. Some responses on those issues. I can't wait to get some of those pull requests merged in here. You ran into someone in another stream named Robert Drop Tables. What a shame. The Portland Trailblazers? No. If you say Blazor 3 times fast, out comes some bling. It's in the closet in the other room. I don't have it handy here. Blazor Workshop, Blazor Beard. Nah. The last bit published to Azure won't work until Preview 7. We'll figure it out. We'll get something working there. You can do some other things with publishing Blazor. You plan on continuing to work on. That's terrific. Thank you, Daniel. All right. Let's get into this. Let's get back into this. So our schedule for calculating availability, we expect it to return a certain number of items that indicate here's the number of, we want to be able to fill out our schedule grid with the availability of folks. So we're not returning anything yet because we didn't need to build it. What do you mean you can't navigate to that? Of course you can. You can't navigate to that either. Visual Studio, what are you doing to me here? Come Come on now. That, really? You don't know what Schedule Manager is? I mean, it's right here. Is that problem that I was having in Visual Studio Code slowly infecting Visual Studio now? Add a comment about not including that 5 o'clock hour. I guarantee you'll forget it in 3 months. You're probably right. Note. Right. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is 8 hours. Because we do not include the 5 o'clock hour. Yeah. Okay. But I'm kind of weirded out. Now wait, why do I have a red X on that? That doesn't make sense to me. Let me force a rebuild, see what's going on there. It's become self-aware and refuses to do my bidding, Visual Studio has. So here's the thing. When stuff like this happens, it becomes real easy for me to clip the video and send it over to the Visual Studio team and say, something funny going on. Right, so the rebuild succeeded, but it's still not behaving here. Yeah. I'm worrying. So here you see the red X's that indicate this was covered by a test and it failed. Well, we got the code compiling. Now we actually need to do the maths. Maths? Isn't that how they say it in places outside the States? How is my PC load? Well, I'm running OBS, and that always is just plain heavy. But I have my CPU, my memory are still... I've got plenty available here. Right? Firefox, Visual Studio, OBS, SQL Server. Why is SQL Server running? But I'm okay with these three, and I'm certainly well within tolerance here. I'm not pushing yet. So I'm all right. Maths, yeah. Outside the States, in Australia, the UK, you're not just doing math, you're doing maths, plural. All right, so let's start doing the math on this. So we want to calculate. We want to calculate the availability for all the folks whose schedules are being passed in here for the time range specified. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to expand the schedule for each one of the schedules that's been passed in for the times that have been specified. Collect up all of those time slots and put them into a collection. Yeah. And we'll do a little bit of aggregation across that. We'll count the number of instances of, well, we'll have each of the time slots, and we'll look at each of the time slots for each hour that's available and count the number of time slots that are actually overlapping that. Right? Do the thing, says Jeremy. All right, let's do it. So I feel like I could do a parallel on this. Right? Can I do that? Right? Have you ever done this? Parallel dot for. Actually, I can do parallel for each. Look at this. So what this will do is it'll run in parallel each step of the loop. Right? Each instance of the loop. So I'm going to do a parallel for each on the collection is going to be my schedules. Right? And the body. What are we actually doing with each one of those? So let's just say S. And I need to have a collection of time slots coming out that we're going to put that into. So let's declare right an intermediary collection of time slots. So let's call this working time slots. And we'll make this a list of, and that's actually not just time slot, it's time slot availability. This was that new type that we defined that allows us to have a count. That's what we want to get to. I think we just want a list of time slots, and we'll generate a count of those. My build is still failing. I'm still not passing. I'm not outputting my 64 units yet, but it built properly, so I'm back to the red X's. All right, so Raziel Descartes says this looks a lot like JavaScript, ECMAScript 6+. It's amazing the similarity between C# and JavaScript. Yes, C# has a compiler, right, that and static typing that kind of forces these things to work. There is dynamic typing in C#, but it's a feature that not a lot of folks use, and the support for it in new features is not being upkept. All right, so I want to look at each one of the schedules and expand that schedule. So let's do this. Let's say working time slots dot add range, right? It'll allow me to add a collection, and I get a collection out of expand schedule. I'm going to pass in the specified schedule that I have, my start time, which is I have start hour, end hour. Let's create a start date time that is the start date, add hours, start hour, right? And we'll have an end date time. Yeah, that's fine. End date, dot date, add hours, end hour. We're going to need to look at the start and end hour on each date in between, but this will get me at least looking at the starting hour and end hour on the outside list. JavaScript with TypeScript is a lot like C#. Says, is that XU home? Yes, I completely agree. It does. Conveniently, the language designer for both languages is the same guy, Anders Heilsberg. Really great stuff from Anders. And the program managers for both of those languages, Daniel Rosenwasser and Mads Torgerson. Tremendous guys. And they actually have a language board, a language panel, where these folks get together and discuss the programming languages. C#, VB, F#, TypeScript, Q#. She's involved in the mix as well. I forget her name. I've met her, had a great conversation, several conversations with her, the program manager that's the language designer for Q#. And she's doing some tremendous work, even as that language is in the early states. Anders, yes. We might have Anders on here at some point. We'll figure that out. Maybe at Ignite. I don't know. Does it need to be a concurrent list? Asked EcoMath328. Maybe. That's not a bad point. Spell it right, Jeff. A concurrent list. Concurrent. And actually, you can't do concurrent list. You can have a concurrent bag, which is a thread-safe, unordered collection of objects. I think that's enough that we need for this, right? It's just an unordered list. I don't care about it. We'll go through and we're going to figure out what they are later. So on that, we can't add a range. We want to add all of the time slots, but there is no add range on the concurrent bag, which kind of makes sense. Let's say these time slots, and let me finish doing the expansion here. And the end time is going to be end date time. Yeah. Okay. So I've expanded the schedule. For this schedule, I have all the times that they're available, not available for across those times. Now, can I do another parallel for each? That seems a little crazy. For each, Let's call it a TS in these time slots. I'll say working time slots add TS. Did that do anything? Did that work? No, I've still got it. So here's the thing. I've got it breaking right here. It's not working properly here. Add range is a huge miss on concurrent bag that you have an extension method for. Nice. But the extension method is really just going to do this, right? So, this isn't going through and it's not finished. Well, return new time slot availability. What I should do, right? I can't return the working time slots yet. I don't know what those are, right? So this parallel for each has a parallel loop result, right? So it should finish this, and actually we should be able to inspect now working time slots here and see what's going on, right? So I want to take that schedule and I want to now look for each day, for each hour of the day. Do I have dates that overlap it? Overlap that hour? If I do, if someone is available, count it. Okay, so let's write that code. So let's call this, I don't want to do I and J here. I want to actually be able to visualize what these are. For date counter equals 0, date counter, right, less than, and it's going to be the number of days in between. So I'll take end date, subtract start date, right, dot days. So if I get total days, and I would want to do a math.ceiling, because if it's 0.4 days in between, well, I need to look at least that one day, so round it up. Okay, and date counter plus plus, right, so that we increment that counter. All right, so now we're looking at each day, and we have a date counter that'll be the days. Now we need to do the hours in between the two. All right, so hour counter equals, now let's make this one start hour. Hour counter less than end hour, right? And hour counter plus plus. So now I'm looking at each hour in each day. Okay. Now, I feel like this is another one of these that could be paralleled, right? But be really weird to do. And look, I've got the red X's indicating it's executing this line of code in the test. It's waiting for me to have some code for it. Oh, yes. So my working time slots, if I just do, right, working time slots add, no. I have an out set of time slot availability that I need to build. Out availability, let's call it. I like to put out in front of the variables that I'm going to return. New list of time slot availability. There it is. Right. If all I do here, right. Let me fix that. Turn this to return out availability. That should still compile. I get the clocks, and it works. That compiles, right? If I just say add new time slot availability here, I should get greens now. No. I got 63 being returned, not 64. Where's my one missing time slot? What did I miss there, chat room? How do I have 63 and not 64? The subtract and ceiling says T-Ceros. Sorry, eating. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to grab a... help me out. What do you mean? Almost done. No problem. Less than or equal to the end hour. Well, if it's less than or equal to, that's days. Right, if I put it here, right? Now I got 70, which tells me that it's looking at 6 days. This should be less than or equal to, so it includes that last day. But now it goes to 72, which is 8 more, right? It's funny, it went up to 8 more. $63. Why 1 off? What's the 1 we're missing? And we're not even looking at the time slots yet. This up here, we're not even consuming this yet. We're just building our grid that we're going to do the analysis on. Let's do this. Let's see if we can log and get a little bit of information out of this. 10 minus 8 equals 2, but I might actually want 3. Then I would be off for each day. Let's... equals start date dot add days date counter. I'm going to need this anyway in here. Add hours. Let's make this date. Add hours, hour counter. Okay. End date time equals, right? Start date, add days, date counter, add hours, hour counter plus 1. So now I've got those, and I'm going to set the count right now to 0. Okay. Now I want to go through and inspect those. I'm going to go back over to the test and let's inspect and see actually what's coming out of this. I don't have the logger wired up to this so that I can output it. Wasn't in that one. Where did I use? I wired the logger up. Here. Add console. Is it actually going to write it out if I just say console write line? Item in results. Console write line. Item dot. What do you mean you don't know what that is? Why doesn't it know what that is? Like, this is Visual Studio really not behaving here. This is 16.4. I'm sorry. 16, it's, what version is this? 16.2 preview 4, and it, yeah, I think we took a big step back here. Because I installed that update overnight, and we're not able to see .NET Core references here. That's a pain pain in the neck. Start date, is it not that one? Yeah, start date time. This one. So now that should execute. We should get some entries over here. It's still running back here in the background. No, I'm not getting it out. I'm thinking you need to blow it away and start again. It is the preview version. Results may not be enumerable. No, actually. So, look. It doesn't know what that is. It doesn't know what this is. And it doesn't know what that is. However, over here in this project, it knows what this file in the same project, it knows what it is. Let's clean the solution and try again here. Magnificode, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Dunks are us. Hello. Let me see what's going on here. Clean succeeded. Good. Rebuild should work. Why am I expecting 64? Asks El Chef. So 7 days. That should be 56. Right? 7 days, 8. That should be 56. Right? Do I have that right? I'm still not getting the log being output there. Close and open the file again? Sure. Look at that. It did pick up. That's messed up right there. Good catch, Vlado. Thank you very much for that tip. There we go. Points to you. So, okay, that should be 56, which means... Right, so we're saying... Now we're 7 up. Okay. So we're going through the date. It should be less than or equal to the end date. If I'd make that less than or equal... Now it's 72. No. So I'm still at 60... Hang on. Wait a sec. 7 days. That's not 8 days. Why did I think it was 8 times 8 is 64? 7 days. 8 to 5 p.m. is 8 hours that we're going to be counting because we're not counting the 5 p.m. hour, right? 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 8 hours. 4 to 5. Oh, 9 hours. Yeah, that should be 9 hours. In which case it's 63. How did I mess that up? Thank you, Johan and T. Ciros. Yes, there. Oh my gosh. Now it's calculating properly. Now we've got the number right. Of course, the machine's right and Jeff's not. I tell you.
A nutless monkey could do your job.
Len Grossman, my producer. And here I thought it was some strange American thing. No, it was me making a mistake. All right, so now we need to actually figure out what's the count. How many people are actually available on those? So, let's do this. Let's pull this out as its own object here. This availability. Fix that formatting because, damn, that's ugly. Okay. And we'll end up adding this availability here. But right here, calculate. How many people are actually available in this time? But by strict TDD standards, everything's passing. I would stop at this point. But it's clearly not done. It's not finished. So we've got, it is reporting at the grain requested. For this test, it is. It's done. It's doing the appropriate thing and reporting that, yes, I have those 63 for hourly. Right? I need to similarly do that when it's not hourly, but it's another interval here. Still trying to work out a schedule that repeats on the 14th through the 21st is 7 days. That's normally counted. I'm not including the 21st, right? It's Saturday to Sunday, right? We're not including that day. Oh, but I did, didn't I? Yeah, less than it. But I did the ceiling. Yeah, it's a half open interval is what it is. It includes the first day but doesn't include the last day. But I did include it there. I don't want the ceiling. I just want the date part. So that should give me, right there. So it doesn't include the last one because we're on a less than there. Good. Okay. And this, I didn't want to include that. So this should just be end date, date. When we're playing out the schedules. That doesn't change anything, but I think we're okay there. Protopoly.com or Protoopoly. Welcome. That's not normal when filling in a calendar. When filling out a calendar, though, I go from Sunday to Saturday when I'm looking at the week schedule. All right. This bit, calculating right here, taking a look and saying who's available, who isn't. I need to write my next set of tests to actually expose and throw an error there. So I'm going to take this and add some additional information. So I've got the same setup here, then should calculate availability for each time slot returned. So this, we're going to want to run this calculate availability several times with the different grains passed in, and we can do that as a theory up here. So I have these backwards. That shouldn't be assert act. This should be act assert. How'd I get that backwards? What? There we go. I hit F1 by accident. So we're going to need to look at this. Not equal. And let's say results first. Count. It's not that type of count. Let's just say that for right now. Just so it fails. See? Fails. But let me come up here and let's say... Let me turn this into a theory. Proto-poly, like 2 words. Ah, okay. Welcome. It's usually specified explicitly if the end date is included or excluded to remove the ambiguity. Please tell me the smiley in the center measures something like keystrokes per minute or new lines of code. T-Cyros. That smiley that you see in the corner is actually the chat room sentiment. Every message that's keyed in, we're doing sentiment analysis against it to see just how happy, how how folks are enjoying the discussion, enjoying the session. It's a smile if the last messages that it analyzed were overall positive. It's a frown if it's overall negative. The number is the relative percentage of the last, I believe it's the last minute, and the arrow is the trend over the last 5 minutes. Happy and loving the stream. Look at that from Ancient Coder, and it ticked up that number to 79.8. Trending upwards. So, the happier the chat room, the higher the sentiment. Yep. So, right, this way, if I see that number really dip, maybe we change topics. Find something else, fix what we're working on. 93.3, we like what we're working on, so I'll continue going after and exploring this. So, yeah, it is kind of awesome, isn't it? So, hey Stelzy, good to see you. What's interesting, T-Ceros, and if you think that's pretty cool, what we need to explore is, what do the emotes mean? When we think about sentiment, right? So there, Hugo wrote happy, happy, joy, joy with the Twitch sings emotes. Well, what do the Twitch sings emotes mean? Are they positive or negative? Should they give an extra bump to positive sentiment? Robert Tables just dropped heck emote. Well, heck is kind of like negative. Heck. Look what happened, right? Maybe that should be slightly negative, have a slightly negative influence on the sentiment of that statement. And the ship, right? Ship it. That's a good one. Maybe that should be a little bit more positive. Hey, great. Our friend Code Rushed, Mark Miller, I think that should be absolutely positive with those really cool shades he's got. So these are things that we need to figure out. Adam, great point. How does the LUL emote register? These are things that we should look at with a little bit more work on our bot when we get back into sentiment analysis. So, sentiment analysis overall is cool, but how do the emotes affect it? And I love how everybody's trying to test it now. What's it think? PogChamp, what's PogChamp do? PogChamp, I think, should be very positive, right? But Golden Boy with his, what's the crying face with Golden Boy? Kappa, maybe a little negative, but Golden Boy maybe is very negative, right? So, it doesn't know the emotes. I agree, Ancient Coder, it doesn't. But there's ways that we can teach it, the emotes. And I actually have some friends from the ML.net team that are interested in helping us out with this. So, and here we go. We'll be able to have, instead of the sentiment analysis going off of Azure and running remotely, we'll be able to run it locally with the bot. And it'll be able to scale very, very well. You don't need the numbers, Ancient Coder. You can just end then and it'll work. It would make a cool guest stream, yes. So I've been talking about it with my friends Pranav and Ankit. They've got some ideas for this, and it's they just shipped a new version of ML.net. So maybe we can dial them in next week if I can. Wonder if I could train and share a model on at least the built-in Twitch emotes. Not a bad idea. Now, why didn't the the and then trigger there? That should have triggered. Because we heard it, but it didn't actually end then there in the chat room.
And then?
There it is. We're not talking about all day. In this case, it's repeating 8 to 5. Yes. ML.net. Yep. We need to put some indicators in there so that it handles some exclusion lists, so that we don't try to reconcile ML.net, ASP.net, turn those into things. So it is a little confusing, definitely. It's quite fascinating, Robert Tables, how our brains are so sophisticated and able to handle this. So, all right. I'm wrong? How am I wrong? How am I wrong? Where am I wrong? Help me out here. Help me out. Pair programmers, tell me. Not including the 21st. Well, when I build a schedule and I want to show for this week, I'm going from midnight on the 14th until 23:59:59, 11:59 p.m. and 59 seconds on the 20th, and I'm not including the 21st. I want to show this schedule. So the dates that I'm passing in to calculate and expand here are from midnight on the 14th until midnight on the 21st. If it'll make it clearer, I'm more than happy to make this like that. So, but this is 8 to 5 p.m. repeated. Yes. Take care, Chris. Good to see you. So now, because I have it going to the date of the last date, it's not going through and including all of that. So I want it to stop and not include the last date. Right, if I were to say make it to the last date inclusive, if I made it that, right, I'm going to get 54 here. If we wanted to say that end date is included, then here and now it works. So it's a question of, are you including the last date? There we go, Adam. There you go. And thank you for the follow, Proto Poly. Appreciate it. So you're saying the internal representation should be inclusive. See, I disagree that the end date should be inclusive. Because when you say I'm working 9 to 5, you're not working the 5 o'clock hour. But when you're saying I'm working Saturday to Sunday, that's including Sunday on the dates. Okay, I can buy that. Protopoli, what we're working on is this is an employee scheduling application that we're doing. It's a volunteer scheduling application. Let me show you a little bit of what it looks like. C17, I kind of agree. Begin is inclusive. End is usually exclusive. Where'd it go? Did it start? Build succeeded. The Good Idea Company. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. Hello. Good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So what this is, this is going to allow for this nonprofit organization. It's going to allow them to have their volunteers be able to schedule their availability. Rats, I'm not logged in, so it didn't. Yeah. Boom. Let me log in. Log me in. Here we go. Oh, you're telling me that my Docker containers are down? Are you kidding? Yeah, it's, oh my gosh, it's down. All right, fine. Docker start. So this is a Postgres database that I have running inside of a Docker container here on my machine, because Postgres is easy, small, easy to, and doesn't take up a lot of processing power. Jeremy
Knight _ just resubscribed for 5 months. C# do the thing.
Look at. Thanks so much. Appreciate the subscription. And we'll make another donation to Coder Dojo, just like we do for all of our subs and cheers here on the channel this quarter. So, right, we can key in our availability, and we need to do a little work here. We're we're going to put some widgets in here, some appropriate JavaScript widgets for keying in some of these things. But you can click through and you can see when folks are available. That's not bad, right? So I've got my full week blocked off because it's my June holiday here. And right there, I've got a haircut scheduled. Over here, I've got a pizza order I've got to take care of. I have Blazor class that I'm hosting at 9 a.m. there. So I have the ability to see and define my availability, whether it's a scheduled appointment, like, I've got to handle a pizza order at this time, or it's a recurring thing, like every day this week I have my June holiday that I'm doing, right? We're going to have to fix that in the layout here. My manager view is this nice grid that shows, all right, for this week, we're going to put a number in each one of these that shows here's the number of folks that are available for that hour. And what we've been doing is we're building, right, we've got the for loop built to identify here's all those time slots, and we've expanded all of our employees' schedules. Now we need to go and actually look at the overlaps and see, well, how many people actually are available in each one of these. So, almost time to schedule the rainbow beard appointment. We're getting there. We're getting there, Simeon. If I'm working Monday to Friday, that's working 5 days, says Early Dev. Yes. When we talk about dates that we're working in, it is inclusive. When we talk about times that we're working, it's exclusive. Yeah. So, it's the end times. So, let's see if we can finish that little bit. And we've got some more user interface work that we're going to have to do here later. But these calculations, right, this is a big feature that we're rounding out here. And I have a hard stop in about 20 minutes. So let's see if we can get this bit done right here to do the inspection for each time slot that we're looking at. So this is the time range that we're looking at for this availability. So I want to look at my list of working time slots, and I want to count that overlap with that hour. So I think here's where we have a time slot availability and a time slot. And a time slot availability is actually a time slot. I think we need a static method here. Oh, this makes sense. Public static bool. Yeah. Overlaps. Right? And another time slot. Right? It's not a static method. We want it on this one. This time slot overlaps, and let's call this TS2. And if it overlaps because this dot, the start time is less than or equal to the second one's end time. And this dot end time is greater than or equal to the second one's start time. So now I can go back over here, over here, and that's where I'm going to do my overlap calculation right here and decide whether or not to count. Now that I saw the unscreened shortcut presses, you want the editor command shown, not the shortcut combination. Well, actually, it shows both. Right? So, right, if I control dot here, view show smart tag. And actually, it's a little bit big. What are you doing over there, Karnak? There's Karnak. Appearance, font size. Let's see if we can cut that down a little bit and get it to fit. There it is. Control dot view show smart tag. You can see it up there now. So Am I going blind? No, you're not going blind. It's a little bit hard to see in that overlay. I can actually make it a little bit more... I can make it a little bit more... right, a little bit stronger there so you can see it. So I need to actually put a schedule in here so that I can inspect it and figure that out. This, I'm going to put a to-do right above here. Convert to a... No. To a theory with various greens submitted. So the X unit allows us to turn this into a instead of a fact that only executes once, we can turn it into a theory and pass in the various greens here and make sure that it calculates properly. But I want to make sure that it's actually doing this first, doing that first calculation properly. It even showed the Windows logo. Well, when I do Control Dot, that appears. If I do Windows I, yeah, it does the Windows logo. Yeah. So theory is very powerful. Agreed, Jeremy. Jeremy Knight with the comment there. Yes. So let me finish this bit. Right, so we're calculating the availability and we want to actually inspect the results. So that we make sure that this runs very, very quickly and that it's not doing a ton here. I'm only going to have this go for 1 day and have it go for that 1 hour. The schedules right now, I've made it very simple here. Oh my gosh, Crows!
Crows 4K gifted T-Cyros a subscription. Crows 4K gifted a tier 1 sub to T-Cyros. They have given...
Thanks so much for gifting that sub. Really appreciate the generosity there. And we'll make a donation to Coder Dojo this quarter. Thank you so much. Yeah, big hugs to Crows. And the hype, absolutely. Always love the positivity and the encouragement from folks in the chat room and around our community. So, for this, I'm going to add one schedule. Right? I'm going to add one schedule, and I'm going to put one schedule item on it. Right? New list of schedule. I don't even need it to be a list. So schedule items in IEnumerable. And thank you for the follow, T-Cyros. Is it T-Cyros? Let me know. I want to make sure I pronounce your name right. Hey, that didn't change into the darn Scipio mode. There it is. All right. Yeah. Love the darn Scipio emotes. So there's 17 emotes. 17 you get when you're a subscriber here. That's a lot of fun. All right, so let me define this one schedule item. So a schedule item is that one-off appointment you might have, like doctor's appointment. You saw, right? That I've got my haircut scheduled, that kind of thing. Let's just call this test item. And start date time. Let's make it the same as our start date down here. In fact, I'm even going to cheat and move these up first so I can reuse those values. So I'm going to make this test all day appointment. And I'm going to make it start at start date date. So it starts at midnight. And end date time, I'm going to have it end at start date dot add hours. And let's have it go through till 11 p.m. So I've got one schedule item, and it goes for the entire day, right? Why don't you like that? It's assigned but never used. No, it's used right there. Why don't you like that? Do I have too many? I shouldn't have put that there. Better. Okay, good. And here, I've got a red X. Should not be 0, but it returns 0. So here, this is what I expect. Now my availability, right? So let's set this as, actually, no, let's say, let's call this I'm available all day. Right? status, because I'm telling them, hey, I'm free all day this day. Right now, here's where our status is going to come into question. Because I'm saying available all day from midnight to 11, let's actually make this a little bit more realistic. Add hours, and let's say it's from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Okay? I'm available on that day. Those are when I'm usually awake. I expect, because I have one of these, I should have one. Because I have one schedule that I'm loading up, and I should see one person available. So, it's actually Cyros, like as in pit. Ah, okay. Okay, let's see here. So now I've got a test. Now I've got a real scenario that I need to go back, and I should be able to see if folks are available. So let's do it. Let's do that calculation for each hour. Right, so for each hour for each day. So I want to look at the collection of time slots, the working time slots, and count those that are marked as available. And punch it in there. Here we go. Let's say this availability dot count. I think I can do this with a link expression. Oh, that'd be awesome if we could. Equals. Ace Jack 88. Thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate you joining us. Look forward to seeing you in the chat room, Ace. Mr. Midnight's meow. Hello. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Because everything is awesome. We're going to get this calculated properly here. Let me see. So my counts, I want to look at I want to say working time slots where. Okay. So I want to say T dot overlaps this availability, because I just wrote that little bit of function. Right? Now, why doesn't it like that? Ah, right. Where, and I'm going to basically say count on this, where it overlaps and the working time slot status is schedule status available. Did that work? Did that fix it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's all it took. That feels really good. Let me put some carriage returns in there so it's a little bit easier to read. Where the working time slot overlaps the hour that we're inspecting and the person has declared they're available, count it. Please replace the where with the count. Oh, you're right. Why do it twice? Because count can actually take a predicate to do the test. Great idea, El Chef. Points to you. Why do two methods? Just do it once. That feels really good. I like that. So now I've got the test that'll actually, right? It's outputting the appropriate number of them and it's setting the availability properly for it. Cool. Now, we're going to need another one in here that tests to make sure that it handles the more complex scenarios, right? That we are doing things around the recurring schedules and schedule exceptions. I think those are additional unit tests that we need to write. But I want to come back and I want to finish fleshing out the various other grains here, because right now we're doing hours. We're specifically on hours here, and we're specifically on the hours right here is something that we need to address, right? So that we can figure out and handle the other grains that we have here. So our time units that I defined that we may want to output this at half hour, hour, and day. Because in the case of this organization that I'm working with, they like to schedule their classes per half hour. And hour is a typical work unit that you're going to schedule folks for. You might have hour-long classes, but you may want to have that high-level view of how many folks are available on this day. So, Ace Jack says, first time watching a live coding stream, so many questions. Is that C#? Yes, it is. And please, everybody, you're always welcome to ask questions in chat. We've got a great community here that's very positive, and happy to help answer some questions, and I'll chime in as well. So, welcome. Always great to see new folks joining us here, and I hope you come back tomorrow. Quick reminder, tomorrow's our Blazor workshop. Lots of great questions that we'll be going through and talking about WebAssembly and .NET. Code that runs in the browser tomorrow. Shouldn't time unit contain the values in seconds, minutes, hours? So, Mr. Midnight's, I see where you're going there. These are the time units for how granular we want to get for our domain, right? For the calculating availability. So maybe we change that from calling it time unit. Maybe we call this availability time unit, so that it's really clear the domain that this applies to. So, anyone have programming basic questions, hit me up. Yes, absolutely. Always, right? We're more than happy to help beginners, new folks. You're just trying to find your way. You're starting your technical journey. That's okay. We'll answer questions. If there's things that I'm doing here that you don't quite understand, let me know. I'm more than happy to back up, take a little bit slower, and describe. And describing those things helps everybody a little bit here. Thank you for the follow, Mr. Midnights. Really appreciate that. Go by fractions. Start by day and then 24 hours, 2 half hours, 2 quarter hours, 5 minutes. That way you can adjust the granularity at runtime. Oh. Wait a sec. Are you suggesting... Let me make sure I understand this correct. So this is called an enum. This is a way for you to have a collection of values, right? You have a type here, the availability time unit. And there really is only 3 values of it in it for me right now. Half hour, hour, and day. Are you suggesting that... That way you can adjust the granularity. 7,000 soon. On to 8,000. Yeah, we are closing in on 7,000 followers. When we get to 8,000, yes, I'm dyeing my beard. Right? I mean, that's something. Wow. Wow, indeed. Are you suggesting that if half hour is 1, then this is 2, then this is 48? At 10K, can we get a commitment to shaving the beard off? Asks I am not myself. Oh, dear Lord. Oh, man. I don't know. Let me think about it. 24223. Yeah, but you need to apply it to each one of the previous ones. Without a hat? Are you kidding? What kind of a savage suggestion is that? Shave it off and paint one. Beard stays. I agree, Sean. Thank you. Thank you. Sean knows where it's going here. Oh my gosh. So I think I see where you're going. So in this 4 here, right? The start hour and end hour, these kind of fade away when you're at date. When you're at day granularity. Yeah, my Philly.net hat is right here, according to the bot there. Yeah, the Philly.net had disappeared for a while, and I thought for sure Mrs. C Sharp Fritz pitched it. Zero says, if you start with 1 day and you want 5-minute granularity, you divide that 1 day by divisors by divisors. Oh. That's a little messy. Are there many bearded devs on Twitch? A beard of the year may be in order. Talk to our friend Talk Custom. Talk's got an amazing one there. It's not a weird idea. I think it's a little extreme what you're suggesting with the divisors. If I had an impressive mane, you'd never see it covered with a hat. Well, there's that. No. I'm lazy in the morning. That's what it is. That and I love hats. Johnny Sparkles, we're doing great. Ace Jack, not a very PHP oriented. Never used Git or unit testing. What should I aim for next? Go for getting familiar with Git. You want to do some source control on your code. Source control is very important so that you can kind of pin, hey, this works, and proceed forward. It also will help you share code with your team members. And that's something that's going to be really important. Then, build some tests. Right? Make sure, right, Git will give you the safety that you don't lose code. After that, come back and start writing tests. Both of those are going to be really important for you when you start sharing code with a team. Yeah, should I use source control for this? Yes. Hang on, let me... Wait, let's do this right. Should I use source control for this? Yes, you should. That's a thing. Half hour, hour, day, right. Then we're adding a number of hours, a number of minutes in between. And that would be a little bit easier for managing my time units. Let me set up the unit test and we can come back and figure it out. So we can make this a theory. I don't need a display name. Right, but I can then provide data to go along with this. Right? Not data attribute. Right, isn't it like inline data? Isn't it something like that? There it is. Right, and then the objects I'm passing in. Well, the object I'm going to pass in is the availability time unit. And I'm actually going to change this. Let's call this time unit. Availability time unit. And we will pass that in. So now it'll execute it, and for each one of those units that we pass in, it'll run the test. So if we put handful of these here, and we want to be a half hour and one to be a day, it's going to run it 3 times, and you see right now they all work, but it's actually not calculating the result properly. It's actually genius. Jeff has made a hat such a part of his brand that he can wear a hat anywhere. It's just expected now. I'll go you one further, Codeman Codes. I can take the hat off and you won't recognize me. And I can hide. Yeah, right? Think about that one. Okay. So we're going for a week here, right? So we've got 7 days, and right, that number is going to be different based on that unit. Right, because it's right? 7 days times the number of hours there.
Oh my.
Oh my, indeed. Let's think. Actually, I can't think. I'm late for a phone call now. Let's do this, just to make sure that it fails properly. Because it's not quite done yet. Right, I want it to fail in those other 2 circumstances. Good. Let's check in our code, and we'll come back and fix that and set up that availability calculation properly. So let's get cleaning up here. Add our changes. Now calculating availability. And push that up. And it's off and running. Fantastic. All right. Let's see who's streaming out there that we can raid into. While I'm taking a look at that, let me put out the raid call. If you're a subscriber, go ahead and grab the top line of text there. And that'll let the next person we raid know that we're coming over and to appreciate. Yeah. To know that we're on our way. I'm going to rate our friend Code Rushed. That's Mark Miller, the Mark Miller. He's working on some really cool stuff around TypeScript, around JavaScript, and he's building a Dungeons and Dragons overlay system here, so you can roll dice and you can get scores and things. Really, really great stuff. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining me. This video, like my other videos, will be available on the YouTube channel a little bit later this week. I will see you tomorrow for our Blazor workshop. It's going to be tremendous. There is so much going on. It's a full day. I hope you tune in and join me. And I'll see you then. Get ready to say hi to Mark for me. Take care, everybody.